Let's go gambling!
Dota 2 has a huge gambling problem, and it's so widespread that all players unwillingly or unwittingly participate in it, from fresh installs to longtime pro players. It's really bad, and shame on Valve for allowing such an abhorrent feature to stay within their crown jewel MOBA. I'm ArgoZilla, and I want to break down this story for you all. Oh, you think I'm talking about skin casinos? Pro match betting? Nah, I'm talking about this.
Closing universe desperately shopping! Holy ding, motherfucker!
I can't fucking believe this fucking work. I keep.
Aw, dang it!
Ah, the fuck! Ball!
You got two in the bag, okay? He got the bag! No way! What the hell?
And it's on as well. Still though, the spin gets off the obby side, spin and bounce backwards. It didn't get onto the heroes.
Yeah, I can't believe you wasted my life like that.
No, I missed 3 fucking hits in a row!
RNG, baby! RNG, Random Number Generator. In other words, the roll of the dice. Unpredictability. When it comes to anything competitive, be it sports or esports, we usually value skill above all else, as we should, and many competitive games are no different. Counter-Strike, Valorant, Marvel Rivals, and Dota is no different. Knowledge, teamwork, and above all, skill will carry you in this game. I should know because I, Argonax, resident expert Mars player, have never fucked up a day in my life.
Damn, I fucking missed. This is so sad, dude. This is so sad.
So, with all that being said, it is rather strange that Dota 2 has so much randomness baked into its game design. From random attacks missing due to blinds and evasion, extra damage due to crits and bashes, and all the nonsensical randomness of Omnislash. It's fascinating how, despite having all of these supposed random elements outside of the player's control, Dota is still seen as a pillar of the competitive esports gaming world. And I just want to talk about why and how that's the case. So join me, Internet Wanderer, as we gamble in Dota. Not with cosmetics, but whether or not you win or lose if you're bad at RNG. And while a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about in this video is about randomness, I know for a fact that you watching this video wasn't random, and I'm thankful that you're giving a small YouTuber like me a chance. Thanks for watching this video. Do the YouTube things, my friend. So, I have one more question to ask you. Do you want me to piss you off? You do? Alright, I gotcha. Here are all 126 champions in Dota 2. That's a lot of spells and numbers. Shameless plug. And out of all of these spells and mechanics that these champions have, a lot of them have some form of innate randomness. Highlighted here are all of the champions that have some form of RNG baked into their kits. Now, not all of these champions are blessed by RNG equally. Some are completely defined by RNG, others have it as a late game possible upgrade, and others have RNG that is so negligible you might as well forget that it's even part of their kit in the first place. So I added this little marker above their head to indicate if said champion is heavily reliant on RNG. And even if you take all that into account, quite a few of these characters have a lot of randomness to them. Spiritbreaker, the resident space cow, might be a global map threat, ganking from God knows where, digging into the enemy team, but once he's in the thick of it, his effectiveness is completely in the hands of RNG Jesus. His bash has 17% chance to proc, and by God, you better hope you get that 17% chance. That's also not mentioning items, given the fact that items is what enables champions to be as powerful as they can be, and many of these items have a lot of RNG based in them. Take the champion Sven. He has no RNG baked into his kit.
Damn, Argo actually carried.
Do you fucking doubt me, bro?
I would.
But he loves to crit, and thus Daedalus he must get, which will give him a 30% chance to deal a ton of damage on hit. Damn you, Argo, and your rhyming abilities. It's shit.
Alright, time to farm.
You got him, bro. You got him. Rampe. Go rampage.
Use him. Rampage.
No!
He finally got the dunk. He
The
finally got the dunk.
one donkey doesn't miss.
This is so sad, man. This is so sad. Here are all of the items that have RNG baked into their design. I'll go into more detail when I cover certain champions later on in the video, but rest assured, all of these RNG-based items are all capable of rolling the dice in order to do some bullshit. And these are just the items that you can purchase. That's not even mentioning neutral items, by the way. For those who don't know, you can run into the jungle, killing a bunch of jungle creeps in order to get these little crystals. After enough of these crystals are gathered, you can craft a neutral item, which gets upgraded as the game progresses. A lot of these neutral items are very powerful, and what makes them very versatile is the fact that the stat attached to these neutral items is up to you. You get to choose the stat that gets attached to the neutral item. However, the option is when it comes to these powerful neutral items is that you only get to select 4 in the case of tier 1 items, but you only get 3. And the problem is, you're not guaranteed any of these. In fact, the stats that you attach to these neutral items are randomized as well. And believe me, some of these neutral items are super important if you really want to maximize your build. You have no idea the pain of holding on to a dormant curio for minutes on end, dragging out the game, and then when you finally hope to God that you can get that Dizoon's blood right,
I better get a Dizoons. If I don't get Dizoons, this game is rigged.
voila, you get these wonderful choices. Lovely, isn't it?
No Dizoons! You're fucking kidding me.
So, not only is RNG heavily baked into the hero design, items and how you procure these items is also reliant on RNG. You can even take it a step further. River runes, where they'll spawn, top or bottom, and what rune will spawn. The fate of your game can legitimately rest upon whether or not your carry can secure a double damage rune in the late game. The timer for Roshan is also randomized. Even the simple act of earning gold has some randomness to it. Every creep in the game has a range of gold that you can get every time you get the last hit. This discrepancy might not be that big, but it's still random nonetheless. And while we're on the topic of creeps and randomness, certain jungle camps, when cleared, whenever they respawn, the creeps that will spawn there are also gonna be random. This is especially frustrating if you're a Chen or Doom player. Sometimes you really want the Centaur creep, sometimes you really want the Satyr, sometimes you want the Harpy or the Cobalt, but more often than not, you end up getting these stupid pine cones instead. Now, up until this point, I've been mentioning randomness and RNG a lot. However, I should mention that Dota has different types of random number generation. I know, right? Apparently randomness wasn't random enough. We need another type of randomness added to the game. Introducing pseudo-random distribution, as opposed to true random distribution. For the sake of this comparison, I'm just going to refer to pseudo-random as PRNG and the normal one as TRNG. Listen, there's going to be a lot of math here, and I know that scares a lot of you, so I'm going to break this down as simply as possible. PRNG is kinda like adaptive randomness. Take the item Skull Basher, for example. This thing has a 25% chance to stun on attack for melee heroes. Now, if we assume that this thing is using TRNG, it's gonna roll the dice every time you attack. So that means it has a 25% chance to proc and a 75% chance to not. So, in certain scenarios, it is very possible to land 10 hits with all of them bashing, and it's also possible to land 10 hits with none of them bashing. However, that's true random distribution. And unfortunately, Basher does not actually use this. It instead uses PRNG, or pseudo-random distribution. What makes this unique is that the percentage chance will change depending on the number of attacks that you have done, adapting whether or not a proc has occurred or not occurred. So let's say you have the item and you attack once. The game calculates the percentage as roughly 8.5 on the first hit. If it doesn't proc, that means your second hit will have an increased percentage chance, going from 8.5 to 17%. There's that number again. And if it just so happens that it doesn't proc again, the third hit will have a 25% chance. Every time you throw out an attack which doesn't activate the Basher, it increases the percentage chance by 8.5%. Basically, the more attacks you throw out, it increases the likelihood of it finally activating. And when it finally does activate and you get that bash proc, it resets back to 8.5 and increases with every attack, so on and so forth. The reason that they did this is to ensure some level of baseline consistency with anything that's percentage based in this game. However, I must state that while pseudo-random distribution was an attempt to make things more consistent and less, unga boonga random, it is still technically possible to land multiple bashes in a row. It's technically possible with pseudo-random distribution, just a lot less so. The key here is consistency, which is funny that I say that because that clip I literally just showed you, Anti-Mage attacked 9 times without getting a single bash, so if nothing else, Valve's inconsistency is consistent, I suppose. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter if a percentage chance ability uses PRNG or TRNG. You cannot predict either one of them. You might as well start looking up horoscopes and figuring out if Venus is in retrograde for all the good that will do you and trying to figure out whether or not your next hit will crit or not. Pseudo-random or true random, it doesn't matter, it's still random. And as the years went on, Dota removed more and more TRNG and added more and more PRNG. In fact, I'm pretty sure almost everything in Dota that relies on percentage chance relies on pseudo-random distribution. There are still a few, very few, but there are still a few true random systems left within Dota. Compared to its other esports peers, Dota 2's gameplay mechanics might as well be a casino. So, in order to help me get my point across with how much of a gamble this game can be, I want to highlight 4 champions that serve as the pinnacle of RNG. Hey Internet Wanderer, sorry to scare you, but apparently I was replaced by an imposter at the start of this video. Man, these Riot Games spies are getting craftier by the day. Anyway, back to talking about Dota 2's random bullshit. These 4 RNG-reliant heroes are Ogre Magi, Phantom Assassin, Chaos Knight, and Juggernaut, and I'll discuss exactly what their random elements are. However, since I want to be a bit of a smartass and, just trying to be on theme with the video, I made this wheel to help me decide which hero that I'm going to cover first, and I'll just spin it after each one. I don't know. I already recorded all the talking points for these 4 heroes, so if it appears a little clunky, that's because they weren't recorded in order, so, blame Dota and Ice Frog for this. Alright, let's spin the wheel and see which one I get.
Chaos is far the mental.
Chaos Knight is a gambling addict masquerading as an illusion-based strength carry. All of his abilities have some form of RNG. His Q is a single target spell that deals a random amount of damage and stun inversely proportional to one another. His W warps you and a target to meet somewhere in the middle where he can beat the ever-living shit about you. That middle point is going to be random. In fact, one of his facets applies a random negative debuff on the target after the spell lands. His E is just a crit. That's already kind of random as is, but he takes it a step further because the critical strike percentage is also random, and his ultimate summons the strongest illusions in the game. These guys deal equal amount of damage as the real Chaos Knight himself. Yes, Chaos Knight saw all those percentage damage buffs that Sven gets and thought that was way too consistent for him. So instead of multiplying his damage directly, he increases his damage by multiplying himself. What did Vince mean by this? Oh, by the way, all those souped up illusions, they can also activate his crit as well. Just as a little cherry on top. His innate is also a casino, because Chaos Knight likes making illusions, and as long as you have this, that means there's a 50% chance to make even more illusions. Your Q with Shard normally makes 1 illusion, but it can make 2. Manta Style Illusion Rune and Shadow Demon Disruption makes 2 illusions, but it can also make 3. Your ultimate, when fully upgraded, can make 4 super illusions, but it can also make 5. It's a 50% chance, but given the fact that these illusions hit like a goddamn truck, that 50% chance can mean a lot. Yeah, this guy isn't called Chaos Knight for nothing. Ice Frog went out of his way to make sure that Chaos Knight is truly a random hero, which makes it all the more funny that the character who is blatantly designed to be completely random is actually not all that reliant on it. On an RNG scale, funnily enough, I will actually put him relatively low, 2 out of 5. The reason that I'm putting him relatively low on this list is because despite how all of his spells have reliance on RNG or some RNG element to them, his damage and utility is so insanely high that even if you lowball all of your RNG rolls, it actually doesn't matter, because he's going to kill you no matter what. Thanks to his ultimate, crit or no crit, long stun or short stun, Chaos Knight does not care. He will obliterate you whether or not he's being blessed by the RNG gods or not. If you were ever caught in this situation, it doesn't matter if he crits you or not. You are dead either way.
I'll set you.
So that in of itself makes him kinda unique. That the fact that he is such a random hero, to the point that his base damage, by the way, has an insane damage spread. 20 damage. This little number for his base damage, this is an average. His real attack damage can fluctuate by 20, either minus or plus. It's insane. Last hitting with Chaos Knight is either the easiest thing in the world or the hardest thing in the world. Oh, I forgot to mention earlier that all Dota heroes fluctuate in terms of their attack damage. The thing is, most of them only fluctuate between like 5 on average, whereas Chaos Knight's damage can fluctuate by 20 points, the highest in the game. Just in case you needed more validation that all Dota heroes actually have built-in randomness. So it is hilarious that the random character, the complete unga bunga, roll the dice and see what happens, he doesn't actually care if he lowballs his dice rolls. He'll kill you no matter what. So that's just really interesting design if you ask me. Alright, now that the Edgelord Knight is out of the way, let's see what we get next.
Stop.
Ogre Magi is a Counter-Strike knife collector, because he has 0 intelligence. Formerly an intelligence hero, he's now a strength meathead. And he turns all of his totally natty gains into mana. All of his spells are pretty simple to understand. He's got a point-and-click stun, a damage over time burn, and he can give his team monster energy drinks. His Aghanim Scepter upgrades gives him another version of his point-and-click stun, but this time blue, and a shitty shield that I will not be discussing further. His ultimate is called Multicast. Basically, it gives him spell critical chance, up to 4 times, which looks like this. That's not all, however. Multicast works with point-and-click items as well. Meaning, all of those items that I listed earlier, especially the ones that don't have any RNG built into them, congratulations, Ogre can give them RNG mechanics via Multicast. And the cherry on top is his level 25 talent, which allows you to cast your stun spell via your auto attacks. And since you have monster energy drinks as one of your spells, attack speed isn't exactly gonna be a problem. Ogre Magi is a simple hero with simple pleasures, and nothing gives you a bigger chub than getting an 8 times Fire Blast. However, conversely, nothing blue balls you more than casting Fire Blast with no multicast at all. On the scale of RNG reliance, I would say that Ogre ranks as a 5. This hero very much relies on his multicast going his way. It's where the bulk of your damage, utility, and just your presence basically comes from. If you're really unlucky and you get really bad multicast procs in your game, you're just in for a bad game. I don't know any other way to tell you. Fortunately, Ogre Magi is still a very beefy hero, and even if you're unlucky with your multicast procs, you can still just serve as a formidable frontline tank for your team. But if the RNG gods decide to bless you that day, well, let's just say those enemies aren't going to be alive for much longer.
EG, can they close it? Universe desperately scrappy. Holy ding, 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 motherfucker. He goes down too.
Alright, next hero on the wheel.
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
Juggernaut is a Beyblade that wishes he was a Crush Gear. He's an agility carry. And Juggernaut himself is considered one of the poster heroes for beginners. As far as his first 3 spells are concerned, I would agree. They're all very straightforward. Even his passive crit has a proc chance that is so high relative to other critical strike spells that it might as well always be on. However, the reason that Juggernaut is a casino is his ultimate Omnislash. Listen, there's a lot of stuff to explain about Omnislash. I'm not going to even bother trying to explain it all. Instead, I would highly recommend watching this video by ZZ Adrian ZZ explaining how it works. It's an amazing video. I would highly recommend his channel. But too long didn't read. By pressing this button, you basically turn Juggernaut into one of those anime fight scenes, you know, when they're trying to cut on budget, so they don't actually animate the characters. Instead, they just become those like slashes of light that give the illusion of movement and dynamic fighting. But in actuality, it doesn't actually do much. But except Juggernaut actually does it though. It's cool as fuck, right? It's one of the most satisfying and visually pleasing ultimates in this game. But it's also super random. You could delete an entire enemy team with one button press. Or you could jump onto a jungle creep camp that you couldn't even see, wasting one of the most powerful ultimates just because, I don't know, because there was a satyr sleeping in a corner that you couldn't see. There is skill in mitigating the randomness of Omnislash, of course. But even the best players in the world can't account for everything. And even if they did, sometimes the RNG gods just want to shit in your cereal. Is that a phrase? I wouldn't know. I don't eat sugar for breakfast. This is why I somewhat disagree with the notion that Juggernaut is a newbie-friendly hero, because his ultimate is way too random. It's probably gonna get reworked or some change in the upcoming patch relatively soon. If I had to assume, they're probably going to make Swift Slash into his normal ultimate and Omni Slash as his Aghanim Scepter upgrade, with number changes to compensate, of course. I don't know, Juggernaut's spells and design just seems to be so consistent. It's just his ultimate that's just this glaring RNG sore spot, I guess is a good way of putting it. On an RNG reliance scale, I would put Juggernaut a 4 out of 5, purely just because of Omni Slash. You can still be effective with a suboptimal Omni Slash, or hell, even with no Omni Slash at all, because Juggernaut's kit is just really solid. But because of how powerful his ultimate is, it's really sad and unfortunate when it goes badly. Put it in another way, the feeling of getting bad RNG with an Omni Slash is way worse than a Phantom Assassin or Ogre getting bad RNG with their spells. So I'm looking forward to seeing whatever changes they're gonna give the local samurai weeb. Ame deserved better, man. And now onto the last hero. I wonder who it could be.
I'm here to blur the line between life and death.
Phantom Assassin is a late-game hyper-carry who has 2 spells that perfectly encapsulates what an RNG proc spell can be. She lives and dies by these 2 spells, which coincidentally, so will the enemy team. She has high mobility and she's pretty damn hard to kill, especially with physical attacks. She also has the highest critical damage in the entire game. Evasion is a mechanic that all heroes can have via items. Some of them are actually rather easy to get. Remove this item from the game, please. But out of all of the heroes in this game, Phantom Assassin easily has the most evasion in the game. The vast majority of normal attacks just straight up won't work against her, thanks to her passive Immaterial. Sven can buff his damage into the 4 digits, but that doesn't matter if he can't even land a single hit on her. Sure, there's ways to counter evasion via Javelin and its upgrades, which also coincidentally also relies on RNG. Ice Frog thought he was being really clever with that one, huh? I should also mention that there's a difference between mischance and evasion. Evasion is something your hero has. You physically evade attacks, whereas mischance is you making the enemy less accurate with their attacks. Mischance is something universal to all heroes in the game, especially if you're on the high ground. For those who don't know, if you are standing on an elevated platform and your enemy happens to be a ranged character, 25% of all of their attacks have a chance to miss. This is universal. Obi-Wan was not lying. Having the high ground in Dota is legitimately a huge thing. In fact, let's stack as much evasion and mischance as possible, and let's see how long it'll take until an attack gets through. But evasion, that's weak sauce. What we're really here for is her critical strike, coup de grace, or if you're a dipshit, coup de grace. Now, a lot of heroes have their own versions of critical strike spells. Many items give them 2. But Phantom Assassin, assuming you didn't take that other facet, has the biggest one in the game. It deals so much damage that it's capable of turning you into a number.
It hits you so hard, you turn into a fucking number.
Jumping around the battlefield and just deleting enemies like it's nobody's business. All of this damage is tied to a passive that activates 17% of the time. There's that magic number again. Why does it keep showing up? Sure, there was a relatively recent rework aimed at lessening her reliance on RNG via this focus guaranteed critical thingy, but it doesn't matter, it's still based off a 17% proc chance. Her ability to be effective in a game is on the extreme ends on both sides. She's practically invincible to normal attacks, and she can deal an insane amount of damage in a single hit. It's so much damage, in fact, it's almost as painful as me making a shittier mom joke I did her last night. If I had to put her on an RNG reliance scale, I would put her as a 3.5. Her evasion is hard countered via spells or buying certain items. It's really her crit that she needs to work in her favor, but the problem is she has so many ways to kinda ensure that it'll always work. She can always take the alternative facet, or you can attack creeps to guarantee that focus crit chance above her head. Alternatively, you can just build a shit ton of attack speed and just ensure that it procs all the goddamn time. After a certain point, after you've gotten farmed enough with enough items, that 17% proc chance doesn't really become that huge of an issue. However, she still does rely on it, especially in the early game. So that's why I'll put her squarely in the middle-ish, 3.5, thereabouts. She still needs RNG, it's still important to her. Dota has a lot of RNG. So it begs the question of why and how. Why does it have so much RNG? And how can it still be a viable esports with this amount of randomness? To answer the how, it's rather simple. Dota 2 is a mechanically dense game. The densest, in fact. It's almost as dense as the people who watch my videos and don't subscribe. It has so many things going on, with so many 4D chess moves going on at any given moment, and the strategies, and it's a lot. There's a lot of stuff to keep track of in Dota. And ultimately, RNG hardly matters in high-level Dota, or honestly just competent Dota at all. Yes, RNG can 100% fuck you over. Ame's Juggernaut and TI-14 will attest to that. But in most other circumstances, it's fine. Crystal Maiden's ult causes random explosions in an AoE. Technically, it is possible for all of these ice explosions to miss the enemies altogether. But in practice, not really. They're all gonna get hit by the ultimate. It's gonna happen. Sven has the ability to one-shot entire enemy teams, but it is highly reliant on critical hit items. It is very possible for him to do 5 attacks and not crit a single time. But in practice, a fully farmed Sven is gonna own you and your team regardless if he's critting you or not. An Ogre Magi might ×8 Fire Blast you with a Dagon on top. Or he might not. But the point of it is, if you are a competent player, you shouldn't even allow yourself or your team to get ×8 multicasted. You shouldn't allow an enemy Ogre to get that fed. You shouldn't clump up so an enemy Sven can cleave all of you in one hit, nor a Crystal Maiden to possibly explode all of you with her ice explosions. What the fuck?
Okay.
I'm getting out of here.
She's doing it! She's still doing it! The Wraith form!
You're actually dying.
RNG shenanigans can be mitigated and games can be won via proper positioning, teamwork, and execution. Even if you are a Phantom Assassin whose critical strike had, 50% chance to proc, but you're bad at Dota, it doesn't matter. Hell, you could even increase that percentage proc to 100% of the time. A competent enemy team who actually knows how to play the game can easily deal with you. While other MOBAs tend to shy away from RNG as much as possible, some of them still have it. League of Legends and Smite have a few cases of RNG, but it's nowhere near the level of Dota. In fact, it's rather interesting to note that while Dota is made by Valve and IceFrog, Dota 2's supposed successor, Deadlock, from what it seems like, has no RNG whatsoever. However, I would chalk that up more to the fact that it's a shooter, and unfortunately, RNG mechanics in shooting games is just a big no-no. Recoil spread aside, of course. And now for the how question. How did Dota become this way? How did Dota become so reliant on RNG? Well, it's simply due to the fact that Dota was a Warcraft 3 mod. And while Warcraft 3 was an RTS, it was also an RPG. I'll let resident RTS expert Giant Grant Games explain here.
Warcraft 3 is a very special game. There is nothing like it. And what makes it special isn't its systems or faction design, voice acting, pathfinding, or art style. What makes this game special is a fundamental decision that was made in the earliest moments of Warcraft 3's life. Because Warcraft 3 is not an RTS. It was not designed to be one, it was not built to be one. When the game was announced, Blizzard did not call it a real-time strategy game, but an RPS, a role-playing strategy game. In the same way that a game like Mass Effect is technically a shooter but is definitely a role-playing game, Warcraft 3 uses the lens of real-time strategy to bring the player an RPG experience.
All RPGs, all true RPGs, are defined by one thing. No, it's not an open world. No, it's not factions or classes or roles or questionable romance scenes. It's random chance. The dice roll. Literally the dice roll. Dungeons and Dragons, the definitive RPG game. It's all about dice rolls. At its most basic and simplistic form, an RPG is all about dice rolls. Warcraft 3 was heavily designed to be a hybrid RTS RPG, and thus, because Dota is a mod of Warcraft 3, it shares a lot of that DNA. Ultimately, RNG is a widespread concept that many games, even competitive ones, have. Almost all TCG games have them, at least in some capacity, and yes, I realize that means game. FPSs with their recoil spread. Counter-Strike and Valorant has this. There's skill in mitigating it and learning patterns, but even then, there's still some randomness in there. There's also all those memes about how a random electron traveled millions of light years to travel to Earth and is responsible for people completing in Mario game speedrun techs. I wouldn't know. I don't play those $80 baby games. Actually, did you know that the guy who did those Mario speedruns goes by the name of Dota Teabag? What did Vince mean by this? The point of this video is that there's a lot of randomness in Dota. And while Dota is a game of insanely high highs and crushingly low lows, I wouldn't say that those highs and lows is due to the RNG. Not at all. Sorry, Ogre players. When you land a 5-second Mirana arrow, that's all skill. When you land a reverse polarity and catch the entire enemy team, that's skill. When you're a faceless void and you catch the entire enemy team in your chronosphere and you bash them to death, that's all skill. All of this RNG and randomness, that's just cope. That's not real. That doesn't hamper your ability to be good at Dota. And honestly, it's just another form of skill expression to mitigate or take advantage of these number systems in Dota. And I honestly wouldn't have it any other way. And while I do realize that Dota does have a skin market casino problem, kind of like Counter-Strike, albeit not as bad, I want to end this video by opening one case and, I don't know, let's see what I get. Wow. I fucking hate this game. But what do you think, Internet Wanderer? Do you think all of these random chance and number percentages have any place in a competitive video game? What casual games do you play that have a ton of random chance? And what RNG mechanics in Dota do you like the most? Comment your thoughts in the comment section down below. That's gonna be it for me, Internet Wanderer. Thanks for watching. Do the YouTube things.